Matt, welcome to Contractor Intervention. What's going on, buddy?
Nothing much, Tom. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. I'm excited.
Yeah, good to have you. We finally made this happen. Hopefully the internet gods will cooperate here today. You had an issue the first time. I had an issue the second time, and third's a charm, they say. So, dude, who the hell are you? Where are you at? And what do you do?
So my name's Matt. I'm a third-generation general contractor out of Massachusetts, and mostly all residential for the most part. Residential home improvements, additions, things like that.
Gotcha. And I know from our pre-discussions and the stuff you sent over and this and that, I just want to give everybody kind of a lay of the land. You're doing about year-to-date in 2024. It's October, middle of October right now. You've brought in about $2.2 million. You're running around a 40% gross profit. You got some struggles on the net profit side. And so I just wanted to give that quick kind of financial snapshot. So what are you hoping, what problem are you hoping to solve here today, man?
Well, out of the bucket of problems there is.
Yeah.
Well,
hold on. Let's do this. Let me do this. What you said, the bucket of problems. What are the problems? Let's list the problems.
Oh, okay. Let's list the problems. So there was the net. It starts with the net. But I know I hope I made a change there. So there's the net. Then there was it starts when I got back from Denver, and my project manager for 3 years walked off the job. And as I'm diving into all the projects, the 22 open jobs we have, I'm saying, why there are 22 open jobs with 3 crews? And then I'm talking to every customer. There's no quality control there. And then there's early installments being pulled off of every job and being used, the old saying, robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Mm-hmm.
So now we got all these open jobs, no materials on site, the installments are ahead of the scheduled. So I got a lot of clients that are working with me on it. Some of them are not so happy, as I'm sure you can imagine. I know ultimately it falls on me. I should have stepped in a long time ago if I knew he was struggling, which I did. But being self-taught, I said, I would be like, hey, do you need a hand? No? Okay, good. I left him to his own devices,
Yeah.
And that's a big failure on my part. And it broke him. He didn't see an out, and he just walked off the job. I wish he would have came to me, but so that is the bucket of problems I have right at this moment. And it's been ongoing for 3 weeks. A lot of falling on the sword, as we like to say.
Yeah, those are always fun conversations. So just to be clear, you don't need an exact number here, but these 22 open jobs, how much money is sitting out there because they're not done yet?
We just did it, and I made sure I had all these sheets ready. We threw some numbers together. There is about, the total amount is $1.5 million on all the jobs sitting out there.
Ouch.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's why your net on paper right now looks like shit.
Yeah.
So are you, let me back up. Talk to me. So the PM walked off. So you now putting that hat on yourself?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So you are now putting on the hat of the PM, trying to finish these projects. You got a bunch of pissed off clients. Some are working with you, some are pissed. Obviously, they're all inconvenienced, and I'm sure they're not thrilled, but, so you've already made your apology tour?
Still in the process of it.
Still in the process? Yeah. It's funny, because where I was going with this was, and on my end, I took some notes here. I just wrote down the problems. I got number 1, net profit. Number 2, PM walked off. Number 3, 22 open jobs, 1.5 million. And number 4, pissed clients. So what I do, so when we look at that list, what do you think the number one, what's the question I like to ask? What's the one move you can make that makes all the other ones go away?
Ooh.
You know what I mean? If you could focus on solving one of these problems, and I'm pretty clear on what I think it is, but the one thing that would fix all the shit that you just listed off, which at the end of the day is about your net profit, right? Because because I know on paper you're running negative right now. And sometimes, when we run remember when we take a snapshot of our profit and loss sheet, it's just a picture in time in that moment that you happen to print the fucking report, right? But money is still always moving in and out of a business. So that number's changing like every day based on our, what's happening in the business. But what do you think the number one domino is here that just turns the money thing around?
Well, I think it boils down to, and this is how I'm approaching it. You can tell me if I'm wrong here. I'm focusing on just picking, because now we've even lost some crews, but I'm picking 2 jobs, laser focus on the ones that are crossing the finish line, and the ones that are kind of people have their homes in shambles. So it's not an easy task, but focusing on just getting one done at a time and trying to make that client happy. And that's kind of my approach on the whole thing, which that's the best I got right now.
No, and I would agree. I mean, what I've got here is the first step is to communicate, right? Which sounds like you're already doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We
communicate the situation, whether you like it or not, good, bad, ugly news, whatever. You got to communicate it and keep people in the loop. And like you said, fall on the sword.
We had an emergency meeting when I got back that week. And that was the first thing. We listed every job status. And tomorrow, actually, I have 4 hours blocked out. We're calling every single client that we haven't called yet and having those conversations. And it's got to look something like, well, we can, because all the money's eaten up. So it's like, hey, we're going to be asking you, we can either advance the material, we can get you done, and we'll take it out of the back end of the project, or, you're just going to have to wait until we get our feet to get back there. So,
yeah, that first domino obviously is we got to communicate what's going on, because silence is a bad thing when you're a contractor and you're the client. Silence is never good. And that rolls into, I think, just one word here. And dude, I've coached so many people through this exact situation, and it's the same fix every time. Because right now, I don't want to focus on what you should have done with your old PM and all that. That's water under the bridge at this point. Like, learn the lessons. We could revisit that at another time. The reality is you've got 22 open projects, right? Which you sound like me in my very first few years owning a painting company, where we were doing all this builder work and we had remodelers and we had residential clients, and I had no clue how to see things through, right? So it was a messy situation. So I get it, but every single time, the formula for this situation to get out of it is, number one, you communicate. Number two, you got to identify the low-hanging fruit and finish, right? So when you went through this list of all these projects, did you put them in like order of getting them done?
We haven't built the Gantt schedule yet, but right now I got the next 6 are lined up. And what I'm looking at, and you tell me if, obviously if you think I'm doing it wrong, is like, what's going to be bringing the big, obviously the ones we're on right now, right? As far as like physically the guys are there working. I want to get them done. No more of this bouncing from job to job to job shit.
Right.
Then it's looking at, all right, what's bringing in the biggest ROI? Hopefully we can spread that out through payroll, because I left out the part that the accounts were zeroed out as well when I got back.
Yeah.
Like zeroed. And so what can we break? What's going to bring in the biggest net for us to put it towards the next project, and also, make sure payroll's met.
Mm-hmm. You know Dave Ramsey?
I know of Dave Ramsey.
Not that you know him, but so he has this thing when he tells people how to get out of debt. There's do the debt snowball, right? Like you got the one credit card that's got $1,800 on it. You got another one that's $5,000. You got another one that's $20,000. He says, tackle the $1,800 one first, right? Like get after, whatever that order is. But so I think in your case, looking at these projects, I think it's going to be, what job can we go there, all hands on deck, and fucking finish? Because if you start, and I've made this mistake, I got 22 people or 8 jobs that are open, whatever the number is, doesn't matter, and you try to give attention to all of them at the same time, and you're still just bouncing around, and it prolongs the pain. I'd rather have the one difficult conversation with a client, or those 22 conversations you have to have, whatever.
Right.
I'm just going, hey, I know this is inconvenient. Here's our plan, blah, blah, blah. And we're going to come and we're going to be here until it is 100% completed. And so, because you got to get some momentum here. So I would go after, what's the easiest job to finish? You put the manpower on the job, you babysit the shit out of the thing and bring it past the finish line. You get a check, and then you repeat, and then you repeat, and you repeat. Something you said a minute ago, you said you lost some crews. So was that a result of the PM?
That was a result. Some of them were for the 2 crews were for the PM. They literally said to me, call me when he's gone. And then after that, we were down to 3 crews. We lost another 2 due to finances. Like literally the accounts were zeroed out, not making payroll. I had to hold 2 weeks back. And, I don't blame them.
Right.
If you're not getting paid, you're not coming to work. I get that.
So is it possible with the teams that you currently have to go, all right, here's Jones, Smith, and Johnson projects, and you're putting 1 crew on each project, and you're truly just managing those? So I know I'm talking get one job done at a time, but if you have capacity and you just go, I'm personally going to manage these subs or these crews, and you're banging out 3 or 4 jobs in a week that are at the finish line. Is that kind of where you're going?
Yeah, that's kind of where we're going right now.
Because you got to get the oxygen in, man. You got to finish. Yeah. So I think, what do they say? If I got 8 hours to chop a tree down, spend 6 hours sharpening the axe. You got to have some sharpening the axe conversations with your crews and just pre-plan, hey guys, this is where we're at on this project. This is what needs to be done. Let's sit down and create a 3, 4, 5 day plan, whatever it looks like, of where we need to be at the end of each day. And let's push through and get this done so we can all get paid.
So that's actually great. That's gold. I didn't think of break. I look at it as, all right, that job's going to take a week and a half. Get over there. Instead of breaking it down to the grit where it's hey, this is where you should be at the end of this day.
And that's probably, again, I don't want to go crazy on the PM shit, but that's probably where that person went wrong and where most of us go wrong if we're not careful is it's one thing to sell the job, but then we have to fulfill it. And you can't fulfill it if you don't reverse engineer. We would always pick all right, it needs to be done by X day. So where do we need to be the day before that, and the day before that, or the week before, whatever it is, depending on the size of the job. And those are the milestones that we're chasing every day. Those are the things that we're going on the attack for. And I can't overemphasize the word finish for you. I don't care if and I'm not, I know doing what you do, you have multiple crews and subs, so you're able to run more jobs than one, right? I get that, but always having that finish mindset. So if you have a project that's several weeks long, a couple months long or whatever, if you're not watching where we're at each and every fucking day on that thing, it's going to get away from you. You know, and that sounds like what your PM wasn't doing, which in turn caused the problems of the bank account being zeroed out. You got negative net profit right now, and you got 1.5 million out waiting because, you know, one of two things: it wasn't the right PM, or you didn't train him right, or a combination of the both, right? And that was maybe
both.
Yeah, and we learned from it. I remember this is the early 2000s, and I was in a similar situation, dude, where I literally wasn't 22 jobs, but it was like 13 or 15 projects. And I was like, I felt like I was, picture yourself in a swimming pool, and I dump 100 ping pong balls in the water with you, and I tell you to keep the balls under the water. You know, you're just like playing whack-a-mole every day. That's what I felt. That's where you're at. But that's where you just got to go, I'm going to have the tough conversations. People are going to be upset with me, and I totally get it. Fall on the sword. And then, hey, Mrs. Smith, I know this is upsetting, and 100% on me. I'm committed to seeing this through, and here's where you're at in the order. And when we come, we're going to come with a plan to have you finished in X amount of days. You know, and always, if it's 7 days, tell them 9 or something, you know, just so you can.
Right.
But if we're not managing these jobs and finishing, that's where a lot of the profit margin goes. You know, like if you're bouncing guys from job to job, trying to keep everybody busy, you're paying for the drive time, and you're paying for setting the job up over and over and again. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm a painter. So like if we pull up to a project and we get all our shit out, staging and the ladders and dropping stuff off, and then we bounce off that next day and do it again at another job, and then go back to that previous job, it's like I'm paying like twice or 3 times to mobilize again. And again, that's where a lot of these profits leak out of the company. So there was a guy I coached many years ago. He was in I swear to God, similar situation, had a shit ton of jobs open. I sat down, and it was in December, and we were almost into January. And I said to him, dude, your word of the fucking year going into the new year is finish. And I swear to God, he took that to heart. And they're in the landscape industry. They're not doing what you're doing. But he was always trying to accommodate everybody, and he didn't like telling people no. And I'm like, dude, you can't commit to starting shit until you finish shit, because you're stealing from yourself. And number 2, you're making it a shitty experience for the client. Long story short, dude, he like doubled his profit, more than doubled his profit in the next 12 months, because he literally just embraced that finish mentality. Okay. So, you know, none of this will catch it on the fucking punch list shit or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, do the thing, do the thing right, move on to the next task. But I think for you, sitting down and reverse engineering, you know, if you have a project that you know, okay, if I put this crew on here and, you know, we started, you know, we go back Monday, we know by Thursday we're going to be done if we hit these milestones each day. That's where you got to put your thinking cap on with your crew leaders or your subs or whatever and go, hey, here's the mission. Let's put our heads together. Where do we need to be at the end of each day, so that you're not doing all the thinking, by the way. You got talented people on your team, get their brains like, hey guys, if we had to finish this in 5 days so we could all get paid, always make sure they know what's in it for them. You know, how would you approach this job? Where do we need to be at the end of day 1, the end of day 2? Okay. And what do you need from me? What kind of support or resources do you need in order for this to happen? Okay. So, and I know I'm doing a lot of talking here, but as you're doing these 22 jobs, you said you're waiting on materials for some things. So don't fucking go back until all the materials are there. You know what I mean? And tell the client that, hey, I know you would love to see us on your site right now, but it's actually going to take longer because we're going to have to come back a few more times. So we're going to wait till all the material is in or whatever it might be. And then we're going to start the job, because then we could stay on plan and we can give you a great experience and get you done quickly. So to me, that's the domino, man. You got to finish. And this is the easiest way out is through, and you got to just work through the shit sandwich right now, one bite at a time. And, But out of that 1.5 million that's coming in, what are you going to keep?
That's a good question. Well, and crush some quick numbers right here. I'm looking at them. So the subs. It's looking like just under $1 million based on the numbers I'm looking at.
So you got like $1 million of gross profit waiting for you.
No, but yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
$1 million of gross.
Yep.
Boy, does not make it that shit sandwich taste any better right now. It's like, God damn it.
So let me dig into this a little. Let's drive the point home a little more, because I know you're getting it, but I want to. I'll just ask the question. What is you not having these projects finished and all this money sitting out there? What's the toll that it's taking on you right now?
Oh, you do know the answer to this question. Sleepless nights, a fuse about this short when something doesn't happen. You know, it's the stress is unbelievable, but and you usually find yourself taking it out on the people that don't deserve it, but that's what it is for me.
Mm-hmm.
That's sitting out there. That's what that's causing.
How's that affect?
That doesn't even account for the financial situation we're going into. You know what I mean? The bills that aren't getting paid and things like that, which obviously that adds to everything.
What about on the home front? What's the toll it's taken there?
It could be worse. Well, besides me not being around at the moment because I'm laser focused on eating this sandwich, I had a call. Actually, I got it from, I think I was from one of your podcasts where you said you got to have that conversation when you know the time is coming. I think it was a recent one that you got to have that conversation at home and prepare everybody at home. So as soon as I saw it, I literally sat down with the family and told everyone, even the kids, like, hey guys, we're going to all calm down a little bit, buckle up. We're in for a little ride.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be worse, Taylor.
Yeah, that stress that you're carrying, I know this is how it is for me. If I'm stressed about something in the business, I'm 100%, I know, emanating that fucking energy at home, right? I'm a little less focused and being in the moment when I'm with my wife or one of our kids because my mind is over there. So they're getting my scraps. I'm a little probably similar to you where I'm a little short with people because my intensity is dialed up because I know I got to finish this shit and I'm on this mission, and it just fucks the vibe up. And then not only at the home front, but then your business and the people that are working for you, you know, they don't deserve that energy from you.
Yeah. So I popped off on a guy. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good.
I popped off on a guy, huge job, $250,000 project. We're on the tail end, and he's an engineer. I don't know if that explains his personality to you, but and yeah. And I was this is when I was first getting into it, and it was the end of the day, chewed out by probably 6 other clients. IRS seized the accounts early that morning, which was fixed by the end of the day, but it was a day. And I lost it on him. Absolutely lost it. He ended up firing us. He said, I'll see you in court. And that's what frustration gets you, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. So you're in the thick of it right now with all that. And the way I look at this stuff is you can go, okay, this is the reality is this is where we're at. This is kind of like the game tape, right? You watch the game tape after a fucking game and you make corrections. So looking back at the game tape of the last several months or a year or however long this has all been going on, what would you say are some of the daily disciplines that you personally as a leader have been neglecting that puts you into this situation?
That I've been neglecting, that I would definitely say right off the top of my head is being more involved in the projects. I think my ego took a big part of that, where I handed it off. I have a project manager, I had assistant project manager, I got all these crews, I have and I sat at my desk and I focused on, whatever, growth and personal development and business development and things like that. And I said, nope, that doesn't involve me anymore. When I should have said, you're struggling, let me get over here and get my hands dirty with you. So that's a big one.
Yeah, so basically absentee leadership.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
You sold the job and just magically thought shit would take care of itself.
Yeah, 100%.
And dude, this is where you got to realize, like, sometimes there's this balance, especially, you're doing 2.2 million or whatever you're doing. There's this point in business where you feel like, and I'm not saying it's a conscious thing, but like, oh, we've grown to a certain point, we've kind of arrived, and I can just take my foot off the gas as the leader. And when the reality is, the elite, the best of anything, dude, they Michael Jordan this shit. Like, you're in a game 7 situation right now. It's fucking game 7. You got all these open projects. You got all this money waiting on you. It's time for you personally to go, I am Michael fucking goddamn Jordan. Give me the fucking ball, and I'm going to go score some points because that's what I fucking do. And when you have that shift, dude, I have no doubt that you're going to burn through this bullshit season of your business right now pretty quickly. And then it's going to set you up when you have that same mentality for every project. This doesn't mean that you're doing everything on the jobs. It means you're Michael Jordaning your leadership with your new project manager. You're Michael Jordaning, hitting those daily metrics of where we need to be on the fucking project every day. And if we miss a day, it's like flare gun in the air, 2319 from Monsters, Inc. If you remember that, where they're fucking repellent things, the sock in the guy's back. All right. Like, if we don't hit a daily milestone, it's very easy for a lot of us to go, it's not a big deal. And what I've found is every fucking thing's a big deal. Right? Everything's a big deal. The details matter. If we miss it, if we miss the daily target of production one day, there is a compound effect that will last a year from now, because it's going to impact, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you're tolerating a project not being hit and the target's being hit, then that's just how you're doing everything. Because I don't know about you, but I'm like generally a pretty optimistic person. And sometimes that optimism gets me into trouble because I figure, it'll just work out. When really we got to Michael Jordan this. So as we start to land the plane here, I don't think it's rocket science what needs to be done, right? You got to communicate, you got to finish. Yep. All right. That solves your money problem. And like that, that's the one thing. But then the lesson on this is going, okay, what have I really learned from this? And what am I going to do differently? And that's, I guess, the point I want to tackle here a little bit are based on what we've talked about. What are some commitments that you can make that are non-negotiable, that you have control over?
So just daily commitments that.
Yeah, it could be daily, weekly. I'll give you one just to get your brain moving. So back 1,000 years ago, started, painting company and profit was low, all these open jobs, confusion on scopes of work, you name it, right? All the shit, because I get it. We're all just trying to make shit happen, right? One of the commitments that we made in our company at the time was we were going to have a non-negotiable crew leader operations meeting every fucking week. Okay, so that was a commitment that we made. And in that meeting, we had all our crew leaders sitting around and they had to report and we're a painting company, so our jobs are smaller than obviously yours, right? We're doing a lot more of them. But like, and this is how it went. If I'm one of the crew leaders, I'm Jose, and I'm going, okay, since the last meeting, I finished the Smith job. It was bid for 100 hours. We finished in 96. I finished the Reber project. It was bid for 48. We finished in 52 man hours, right? And then they would all go around and report on the jobs that they did, that they've completed since the last meeting. And then the next time around, they would go and report on the projects that they're on right now. Okay. So I'm on the Johnson project, and it's bid for 250 hours. We've used X amount of hours. We are on target to finish on time. Like we literally coached and trained them to be accountable. Okay. So that's an example of that was a weekly non-negotiable. And then we had the other habit that we created was a daily end of day report that they had to call into the office of where we were. So maybe those things get your mind cooking here a little bit. Like, what are some, because I don't want you to just go, hey, this is the situation, we got to get through it. I want to make sure it never happens again. In order to do that, it's going to come down to the disciplines and habits that you personally say, these are non-negotiable, because I know this is like taking my fucking vitamins instead of having to take, a cure pill later on,
Yeah. So I immediately put in and you guys call it on the podcast, the Monday Morning Mojo. So that's me and my my assistant project manager. We get together and we go over every job, and we're going to do our first one this coming Monday, but it's going to be every Monday. We game plan every day of the week and what that looks like. And then moving on. And then we also started last week. I put in an end of the day 1 hour block. We call it our war room meeting, where we go into this conference room we have, and we're just going to go over our notes of what happened that day. Hey, what went down? And then I've also changed my whole schedule around to Tuesdays and Thursdays. I'm on job sites. And then the other 3 days, I'm, doing the administrative shit and sales and marketing and all that. So those are some of the changes that are going to be non-negotiable on top of, everything else that was being done before. So, and I'm pretty sure I'll be seeing myself working every Saturday for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what's the saying? What you focus on improves, right? So to me, that means whatever I put my eyes on, I'm going to get more up. I'm wording this wrong because I'm losing.
I know what you're trying to say. I'm there with you.
So if you're fanatic, okay. So let me back up. We had our guys. Our big metric in our painting business is man hours. Okay, so we had our guys intentionally report the man hours at the end of every day, at that end of the day message to the office. Just that one act of having everybody focused on man hours, our profit improved immediately. Because what you focus on improves. So if you're like, hey, it's a 100-hour job, and if you're not given scopes and times and all that other shit, even if you have your subs, you're not tracking their man hours and paying them by the hour, but you're going, hey, the target is Thursday at 4:00. We're doing a fucking walkthrough. And your job, or your PM's job, becomes, for the previous 2 weeks before that Thursday, you're checking in a couple times a day going, hey, how we doing? What do you need? What are you running into? Remember, we have our target of Thursday at 4:00 next week. This needs to be wrapped up. And every day you're basically putting importance on that. Okay.
All right.
And, because if you're getting everybody focused on these targets, you're more likely to hit the targets, because you're all putting energy towards that. There's probably a lot better eloquent way I could have said that, but, and then I think just the last thing, and I can send you this here in the next day or so. I got to dig it up on my computer, but many years ago, I was coaching a bunch of people that were running into these problems, and I created a thing called 20 Steps to a Successful Project. Okay? And it's basically the roadmap of how our company operates, and you can tweak it and make it your own. But basically, there's 4 phases of a project. You got the estimating phase, right? You got the estimating phase. You have the pre-production phase. You have the production phase, and you have the closeout of the job. To me, those are the 4 main things. And then under each one of them, I might have 3 or 5 boxes to check. So the estimating phase is like, hey, did we answer the fucking phone and collect the client's information and have our Shinfu sales call? Check. Okay. Did we have a clear scope of work? And all of these things, and I'll show you, it's too much to describe here because it's a visual thing, but every task is assigned to a role in the company. So like the green tasks were always for our salespeople. And then we'd move into like yellow was our administrative people. And then the crew leaders, that things they had to do each day to help us win this project, like make it a successful job, they were like in the blue color and whatever, and you could look at it and that's what we coached and trained our team on. So that way, when we did have an issue, we could look back and go, where did we fuck up our process here? Because you're at a point in your business, dude, where you're either gonna keep doing decent revenue and make no money, or you're gonna get the processes in place, the accountability, the disciplines, the habits, and you're going to scale the shit out of this thing and make a ton of money. In order to do that, it's people and processes. And so it's not going to be like right now you're Michael Jordan, okay? But Michael Jordan didn't shoot every basket in every game his whole career. It was in the crucial moments. He said, give me the fucking ball like you right now. But eventually you want to get it to the point where you're dishing an assist to somebody else. And together you're all rowing in the same direction. And this is because you got to have a definition of what a successful project looks like. How do we know it's a successful project? Well, this is the process that was. I'll send that to you. And
right. Yeah, that'd be great.
We can discuss that. Before we wrap up, what else is on your mind? Is there anything else that's burning, that's keeping you up at night that you want to address?
Yeah, I don't know how much time we got, but so one of the things that I'm noticing with all this going on is sales. I know I always made sales and marketing my number one priority, but now with all of this, I shit you not, I almost forget to make my follow-up calls. I forget to check to go after that close for the day. You know what I mean? And it's driving me crazy. I had a guy right before we got on here, I was on the phone with a client. I go to send him a text because I always send a link to the website and thank you for, calling. And the guy called me 3 other times where I hit the I'll call you back button and I never called him back. I was like, wow, what the hell? Yeah, sales is slipping because of all this too.
Yeah, it's funny because you're in this situation now where you're like, I got to keep selling. I got 22 open jobs that need my attention. What's the balance, right? And so I'll just say this before I ask a question. You have a guaranteed $1 million of gross profit waiting for you. So to me, that's where the majority of my energy goes right now. Now, you can't neglect ringing the cash register for future, or else you'll be left with no work, right? So kind of that same question, what daily discipline can you implement and commit to right now that makes sure that you're not blowing off the future sales?
Yeah. Well, I've always had it blocked out on the schedule. Like this is I literally have it called Shinfu calls 10 to 12 every day. And it's just, again, with everything happening, but I think it's a matter of making it a non-negotiable. Hey, I got to stop and at least call the people back that are on the hook and check the messages and answer their phone.
Yeah, and I think it could be I don't care if it's a 30-minute window of time right now, where you just go every day at fucking whatever time. I'm going to sit down and just review all the notes, the phone calls I got to return, and I'm going to return them, and whatever it is, that you just know that it, and if you're not like writing shit down and have it, because we all forget stuff, so wherever you need to put that, maybe there's something in your CRM that you can create reminders that pop up for you. If there's, you said you've been dropping the ball on follow-up, right? So can you automate the follow-up? If you send a bid to somebody, create some autoresponders that when they open the fucking thing, one day later, they literally get an automated text and an email from you saying, hey, appreciate the conversation yesterday, wanted to see where we're at, and it's automated. So I think using some automations will definitely help you. But you're in that, you're kind of like, you got to produce all these open jobs that you have, and then you got to sell new work. So it's like two wings of an airplane. Yeah. You need both to fly. But you have $1 million of gross profit waiting for you right now. So if you're working 10 hours a day right now, 8 hours is on that fucking shit. And the other two, maybe it's an hour in the beginning of the day, an hour at the end of the day to close out the sales stuff. And everything in between is like all hands on deck, like we talked about earlier.
All right. That's actually great. I appreciate that.
Because it's almost like, hey, we're flying and which wing do we want to drop because we can't carry the load right now? Like, that's ridiculous. You have to have both. And this is also why a lot of guys struggle, which, we've talked about in the fight before, is you get busy, you got all this work, you take your eyes and your activities off the sales shit, and then you burn through the work, and now you're broke again because there's nothing on the floor.
Flow season, right? That's what worries me, is because we do something
with that. You're going into that flow season right now. So the longer I do this, the more I am reminded that it's really a matter of our own personal discipline. Like just honoring the fucking commitments that we make to ourselves. And I know there's a lot being thrown at you. I know there's a lot of things hijacking us. I mean, dude, in my tiny little brand new baby painting company right now, I had a day the other day where I had made commitments to do some things. A client was calling me, okay, and we were on the project, and I remember going, I was like eating my own cooking here, drinking my own Kool-Aid. I'm like, no, you are on this task right now. You can't answer the fucking phone right now. Right? And I'm a one-man show right now. I mean, I have my subs and stuff, all right? And eventually we'll get this ironed out. But I called them back in about 10 or 15 minutes, and it was fine and worked it out. But it was just having that discipline to go, no, I made a commitment to do work on this thing right now for a half an hour, and I got another 10 to 15 minutes left to do it, and then it's done. I knew if I took the call, I'd get distracted because we ended up talking for 20 minutes. It would have burned into that time that I had scheduled, and then I would have had to bail on it because I had another appointment, and then now I have a loose end, right? So that's what I mean about having the disciplines of, we don't have to jump and respond every time the fucking phone dings. You can wait 20 minutes, okay?
Yeah. I like how you said that about drinking your own Kool-Aid, because I say that I was saying that to the project management team all the time. Guys, you don't have to jump when the subs call you and they need a piece of strapping or something. You have to stay true to your schedule. And then I found myself, as soon as I stepped into the position, jumping for everybody.
And listen, we do that with good intentions. Like, we want to support our teams, but in the big picture, dude, there's been times where my subs have called me and they're like, hey, we're out of caulk or whatever. And I'm like, cool, I'll give you another $20 to go get it. It literally, because I know $20, $50, whatever it is, even if it's a hit a little bit on my gross margin of the job, I don't give a fuck because I didn't have to go do it. And I think that's maybe for another conversation we could have, is also training your people, subs and employees, how to solve problems. Because we usually call our boss. They usually call you. And instead of you jumping in and putting your firefighter hat on and running out there, have the discipline to go, hey, so you're having this issue, so what do you think you should do? And first time I asked that, one of my guys said to me years ago, he goes, well, I don't know, that's why I called you. And I said, I said, well, if you couldn't get a hold of me, and then I changed. I said, better yet, if this was a side job you were doing on the weekend and you ran into this issue, how would you solve the problem? And they're like, well, I would do this, 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 and this. I said, sounds good. Do that. And I hung up. Okay. So, but the point is, you got to teach your people to think and solve problems, or you will never scale your business. And most owners, I don't mean to point at you accusatory. Okay. But most owners, we lack the discipline of training them. And then we're carrying all this other stress. And then when they need us, we're snapping at them when we should be their biggest cheerleader. I think being a coach to your team is like, I've got your back. I'm holding you guys up. I'm here to support you guys. I have a great attitude towards you. I'm grateful for you. And you can't do that if you're having to solve every problem, because then you're just getting pissed off because you're spread too thin. At least that's me. And when I start when I start feeling that, tension, I know that I got to get back to those disciplines of going, okay, slow down. Sometimes we got to slow down to go faster. So this 10 minutes, I'm going to coach a guy through a problem over the phone instead of running my ass out there. Okay. That 10 minutes, I look at it, that's an investment in our future because I'm coaching this person up. So I have one more question for you. Do you have plans to bring on another PM, or are you just going to run with it?
So right now, yes, I do. Because I think that's the right direction. But right now, I actually just interviewed a guy today. But I said, I need leads out there first. I need skilled carpenters. The guy's a great carpenter. He's actually rented my shop, part of the shop from me, and he's sick of working for himself. And I said, I'd love to put you on. You'll be a lead until we're ready, until we got our foundation ready.
Yeah. Good.
You know, I feel like like I was saying, the ego thing, I feel like I took off running. I broke through that first ceiling. I broke through that second, and I just kept breaking through ceilings until I hit that one I couldn't get through. And, you know, it's like they say, you know, your systems are great for the size company you are, but they don't work for where you want to go.
Exactly.
And I didn't have a system for where I went, and it just all came kind of crumbling back in, you know. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does. So I think, you know, before you promote this person to a PM, maybe take a couple steps back and go, okay, let's make sure he's the right person. So probably involves some sort of DISC assessment, you know. So like if you did a DISC on me, it would come back and say, never hire this guy to be a PM. Okay? Because I have a different skill set, right? Like I'm different. And it's not right or wrong. You just want to make sure that, like, he might be a great carpenter and you're having these conversations and stuff, but he really might not be the guy based on how he's wired. Number one, organizational skills, attention to detail, being able to have tough conversations with people, because you know you got to fucking be open with clients and subs and employees and all that shit. And some people don't like conflict. And I don't mean like conflict like we're fighting, but just bringing up tough conversations. You got to make sure that person's, number one, wired for all that. And then number two, having that, if you don't already have it, have a super clear job description of these are the fucking daily tasks. Here's how you're going to be measured, right? This is how you're compensated based on these performance things. Like we talked about, hitting the targets every day on the projects. Like this is how you're going to be held accountable. And if you can't handle the pressure, right, then you're not going to be in this position very long. I'll move you back to being a carpenter. So I'm just saying, like, don't repeat the mistake, because earlier you said it was a combination of you and the other guy not having the skills.
Right.
So learn from that.
No, he was, the guy was an amazing, just like you said, he was an amazing carpenter. He would have been a great foreman, but project management is a different ballgame.
Yep.
So that makes a lot of sense.
So, biggest takeaways from today.
But don't repeat the same mistakes twice.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm definitely going to implement that. I'll breaking it down day to day. I think that's huge. So that's the two big ones I'm taking from you.
Then I'm going to give you homework.
Hit me with it.
Just share with me your plan to finish these projects. Okay.
Okay.
Be accountable to that, because you got $1 million of gross profit sitting there. So whenever you sit down with you or you and your people or whatever, you outline, like, literally, dude, it should be a plan where you're like, I'm picking a date here, by fucking December 13th, we're going to be completed with these 22 projects. And I will have collected this much money. Because if you don't have a specific and clear target, then how do you reverse engineer the success you want, right? And I don't, not sending it to me for my approval or anything, it's just an accountability thing, just to go, here's our plan, and, blah, 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 and we'll touch base in between a little bit. Obviously inside Battleground, you can jump on any of the coaching calls and open coaching and this and that, and work through some of the project problems that you're having. And, share, even share inside the group, like, hey guys, this is the shit sandwich I put myself in. Here's the plan to fix it. And maybe you do a weekly update on it, like some of our members do. They do a weekly update on what's going on in their problems and how they're fixing them. And because that just keeps you accountable to working the plan.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I've been wanting to share this one in the group, and I briefly touched on it, but I left a lot out, and I'm just like, it's fucking embarrassing, man. It really is. It's a kick in the teeth, but these things happen. It's not my first rodeo either.
No, but shoot that over to me, and then
I will. What do you want it by?
You tell me when you're going to have it done by. How's it your plan?
Within the next week.
All right. So today's Friday. So next Friday.
All right. Now I'm accountable.
And I'm not chasing you for it. I'm not going to ask.
No,
because I got enough shit. Well, dude, I appreciate you opening up here. I guarantee you that a little bit of your story and what we went through helped some other people. I know it did, because there's always somebody listening that's going through a problem like this, and they're probably going to take some of the things that we talked about, and they're going to go, I'm going to go do it, and they're going to fix their shit. So I really appreciate you, putting yourself out here like this, and I look forward to seeing this thing around. I mean, dude, you're going to be fucking killing it, man. You're going to be killing it. You get through this and have that finish mentality that we talked about, and you honor those commitments for production each day, honor the commitments of the time that you allocate to sales each day. And in the meantime, I know it sounds like a lot, but in the meantime, you're raising up your leaders, you're teaching them how to think, you're doing your due diligence for the new PM whenever it makes sense to do that. And I would for sure get through this wave of projects, and then I would take my time and just go, all right, let's hire properly. Not just to fill a position, but let's make sure we have the person, and interview a bunch of people, man. Just because you got this person, they're a great carpenter, and I don't know them, I'm not emotionally attached. I'm not saying they're not the guy, but, let's make sure that we're really making sure it's the right guy. So, because you don't want a redo of the last PM.
Right. So definitely not. That was actually, you just said the big takeaway for me was the finish. That was another one of the big takeaways.
Put the word finish on your fucking phone screensaver, so every time you grab your phone, you see the word finish. Like, I do stuff like that all the time, man. Those things that are important to you, or whatever word makes sense to you, to just remind you of what we've gone through today, and what's required of you, man. It very rarely. I mean, I'm looking at your issue in the business right now. Like I said before, yeah, you got money problems, you got all these open jobs and this and that, blah, blah, blah. The root is discipline. It's just discipline. The discipline of you doing what you say you're going to do, the discipline of you holding the team accountable to the things that are important, and their daily actions and their their reporting and, milestones and all. It's just discipline. and listen, we're not going to be 100% on it, because that's just life. I mean, shit happens, right? But sometimes a target is missed, but if you're focused on it as a team, it's going to happen a lot less, and you're going to have a lot less of the problems you have now. So
I appreciate that.
You got it.
I appreciate you having me on the podcast.
You got it, man. Well, I look forward to watching you turn some things around here, and I'll be looking forward to that plan in a week. And with that, man, super appreciative of you carving out some time to be here. And I know, like I said, I know you helped a lot of people, man. So appreciate it.
Thanks, Tyler. I appreciate you, man.
You got it, Matt. We'll see you soon.